This is Mike Rosica from Note Conference. I have a lot of people asking me how I use my financial calculator. It's very simple. It seems complicated, but let me tell you, it's very simple. I'm going to show it to you right now. And let's run through a deal. So what I have on my desktop right now is an HP 10BII or a HP 10B2 emulator. It's free. I was able to download this thing very easily. You can grab this thing at HP. If you just Google it, it comes right up. You'll have no problem finding that. So this is what it looks like on my computer. I also have it on my smartphone. The application that I have for my smartphone costs about $5. It's from In a Day Development. Very handy to have. I bring it to every place I go, and when people approach me with a potential note deal, I whip out that calculator. So this is the help menu that comes along with it. Very informative. Hopefully this webinar will avoid you from having to open up that manual. So what I'm going to be using today are these top 5 buttons. This is really all we need to study. There are many other features to this calculator when we start getting into more complex cash returns, where your cash flow comes in at a very uneven pace. There's actual functions for that feature as well. In other words, you buy a note, there's a negative $22,000 in the beginning for your investment on that note. Then it may take 6 months for you to get in touch with the borrower and get a $10,000 reinstatement after a certain period of time, and then following up with $600 per month for the next 2 years. What's my rate of return? It's all over the place. There's money going out, then there's a big lump coming in, then there's 2 years worth of monthly cash flow. I can show you that in a future video. For right now, I'm just going to show you basically loan origination and allow you to play with the buttons. So let's get started. In a normal mortgage, there are the 5 inputs that are needed. You need to know how many months the mortgage is going to last. If it's a 10-year mortgage, there's 120 payments. There's 120 months. That's covered with this first button on the left, N, which is number. And then you'll see here payments per year. So payments per amount of years. Let's say we're going to start out with the 30-year mortgage, which is 360 months. I type 360. Then I hit the number. That 360 actually loads up into this register. That will stay in that register until something changes it. Either I change it or a function changes it. So that register is loaded with 360 months. The next register is the interest rate. We'll go ahead and put in a 6% interest rate there. This center button is present value. That's the amount of the mortgage. For right now, we'll just call it the amount of the mortgage. In this situation, we are going to create a $60,000 mortgage. So I type 60000, which represents 60,000. And this number that we put into present value is always a negative number. So it's not this negative, it's not the minus sign, it's the actual plus or minus sign. And you can see here when I hit the button, it adds a negative sign. If I hit it again, it automatically turns it back into a positive number, and we're going to turn it into a negative number right now. I remember to turn it into a negative number because if I'm creating this mortgage, it's money that's going to go out of my pocket. That's $60,000 I'm lending out, so it's negative. It's going away from me. The next button is the payment button. This is what we're actually going to calculate out. So let's review this again. We have 360 months, a 30-year mortgage, an interest rate that we put in here, the amount of debt that we're actually creating, which is in present value, and the future value, which is a balloon payment. In this situation, we want this fully amortized over the 360 months. So at the end of 360 months, we will have a zero balance. So we need to put that into that register. I hit 0 here. Take that back. And so this is our present value. I want to hit a 0 here. Put that into my future value to represent 0 after 360 months. Now the calculator will calculate out my monthly payment for this mortgage, and it comes out to $359.73 every month for the next 360 months at 6% interest. So now that these 5 registers are populated with information, we have 360 in here, we have 6 here for interest, we have a $60,000 mortgage, we have a monthly payment, and we know that our future balloon value is going to be 0. This is where the magic happens. This is where the fun begins. Let's say I wanted to sell this to an investor. So at 6%, if he was to buy this thing for $60,000, he would actually receive a 6% return. That's fine. What if the investor wants a 10% return on this exact same mortgage? I would click 10 for 10%, hit my interest rate button, and now the investor is willing to buy this note from someone at a discount. And here's the discount. He's actually willing to pay $40,991 for this $60,000 debt so that he can receive an interest return of 10%. That may seem a little complicated to you, but let's think that through. We had a $60,000 mortgage that we're willing to sell at a discount to give an investor a nice 10% solid return for the next 360 months. But there's a price that we are willing to give up this mortgage for to get $40,000 today instead of our regular monthly payment. That price is we will be giving up a $20,000 hit on this mortgage. That's the business of the discounted mortgage business. That's what we do. This is what we buy and this is what we sell, and that's why this calculator is so important to you. The amount of information that I can change on this thing is infinite, obviously, and we can start working on these numbers a little bit further. So an investor comes up to me and says, hey, I've got this mortgage. The monthly payments are $359.73. It's going to last for another 30 years. It's a brand new mortgage. How much will you give me for it? Well, me being the greedy person that I am, I would like to see a 22% return on that investment, and I'm willing to pay $19,593.32 for your $60,000 mortgage, Mr. and Mrs. Note Seller. The payment hasn't changed. The borrower still owes every month $359.73. The term hasn't changed. That's still 360 months. But the investor is going to only receive from me $19,593.32 today, which will give me a 22% return. And he says, well, I tell you what, I need to get at least $25,000 for this note. So what do? I put in 25,000. I make that a negative number. I put that into my present value, and now that tells me what return I will get on my investment if I gave him $25,000 today and start receiving $359 a month payments. So now I'm going to hit the interest rate, and that will yield me approximately 17% return. And now I make a decision. Is that good enough, or do I really need, let's say just for my books, I need 18%. So now I can put in 1.8, put that into my interest rate, click on present value, and I say, you know what? I can't give you the full $25,000. How about I give you $23,869 and we've got a deal, which will give me a nice solid 18% return, which I can put into my self-directed IRA or whatever it is. And now I've got a potential deal with all the information that I need. I know that the borrower is going to continue making monthly payments to me of $359.73 for the next 30 years. I'll be like 90 years old by then. And life is good. That's how I calculate my 18% yield. You can play around with any number of these buttons. To give you a quick example, let's say I wanted to lend someone $10,000 and they were just going to give me an interest-only payment for the next 5 years. So 5 years is 60 months. Let's put in 60 for the number of months. It's going to be an interest only. So we don't know what the interest rate is, but we have a present value. It's going to be $10,000. And again, that's a negative number. I'm going to put that in as my negative number. And I want a 12% return for my investment. And in the future, it's going to be $10,000 balance. So what's my payment? My interest payment on this note is going, for my 12% return, is going to be $100 a month, $1,200 a year, $10,000 investment. At the end of 5 years, I'm owed a balloon payment of $10,000. It's as simple as that. And let's say I can get from the person I'm lending this to, he says, you know what, let me make $150 a month payment and let me see what that changes my future value of my balloon, because I don't know if I can come up with the whole $10,000. I'm going to apply an extra $50 a month to this payment. So in that situation, that will actually change the balloon payment to $5,916. And the investor, now the borrower gets to make a decision. Yeah, you know, that's something I can handle. I think I can come up with $5,900 at the end of 5 years by tacking on an extra $50 a month payment to my $100 interest payment. And so this is how you play with the numbers. If your guy says, you know what, I can do $180 a month. Let's see what that does to my payment. I can always drop it back down to $100 a month, but if I can do it $180 a month, my balloon will drop down to only $3,466 a month. So that's essentially it. That's how I run an HB10 calculator. Again, you can get it for your smartphone. I encourage everyone to learn this inside out. If you're not using this calculator, you're guessing at your returns. I used to just kind of close my eyes and say, wow, I'm getting a pretty good return. I don't know how good it is. This tells you. This thing doesn't lie. And as long as you put the right stuff in, you get the right stuff out. Okay? Again, my name is Mike. You can get in touch with me at Mike, M-I-K-E, at noteconference.com, N-O-T-E conference.com. Tell me if you like this recording, and hopefully you'll get something out of it. And hopefully you'll be doing some deals with this thing and getting the returns that you need. Great. Thanks.